Now you're here down in Springfield, Missouri. Field conditions are not as good as they probably could be. What kind of game are you looking for today?
Typical game between our two teams is a real hard running game, and I expect it to be just that today.
Does St. Louis like to do a lot of fast breaking, or do you guys do more of a consistent type offense?
Well, in the past we've been pretty much entirely fast break, but we're using a lot more consistency now. But we're going to try and take advantage of our speed when we can and slow it down in situations where we used to pass with a little less than care on the disc.
The Windy City team from Chicago also in the championship, and I'm going to talk with Jordan Halpern and Dean Smith. And Jordan, what type of game are you folks going to have to play to defeat St. Louis? The muddy conditions, of course, are going to hamper your strategy, but what type of offense you guys are going to try to run?
We're going to try and work a short working offense, and if there is something open long, we like to end the point quickly.
Dean, this tournament, it's been going on for a couple of days now. The team tired out? You guys fresh? Exactly what? How are you looking right now?
We're in pretty good shape. We're ready to go. I think we're going to have a good running match with these guys, and we're not tired. We're used to a lot longer tournaments and more intense running on a longer basis. So this hasn't been that difficult for us, and now is when we get to really go out there and run around.
Tom, how would you evaluate this tournament in relation to some of the other tournaments you've seen? Is this a pretty good tournament here in Springfield?
It's a good tournament. It brings together a lot of teams within our region and a few outside it, and it's a nice tournament because it's been together 7 years, which in our sport is something that's critical, the tradition element. So it's a very good tournament.
How long has Windy City been together, Jordan? You guys down here in the championship, I guess you guys been together for a while?
Really, the team, but it's not the same team, has been together for 4.5 years. We have most of the same players from 4.5 years ago, but we've added the group to make us what we are.
About how many more tournaments are you folks going to play before this year's over, Dean?
Well, mostly just coming. We have sectionals coming, and then we have regionals after that, at which time we'll meet St. Louis once again. And then we have the national tournament, at which time we hope to meet St. Louis in the final of that one. And we'll be out there trying to defend our national championship, and I think it'll prove to be pretty competitive.
All right, guys, we wish you the best of luck. Good luck today.
Thank you.
Before the ball game with the men's players in the championship of the Ultimate Frisbee Option Invitational, it's Windy City from Chicago and the St. Louis Pantera Tunas. We'll be back with a play-by-play right after this. Women's game that we just saw here on Cable 4 Springfield. No time limit in this game. 21 points. The first team to 21 will win the game. So you see the women, they got up to 13 points, but the men, I guess, are just a little bit more faster paced than the women, I guess.
Yeah, probably they're going to score a little bit faster. Game to 21, though, this is going to be about a 2-hour game. So I think the game is aptly named in that we consider it to be the ultimate sport, just simply because now both these teams right here, they played 3 games yesterday in the preliminary round. They played a quarterfinal game last night. They came back this morning after a real good party last night to a semifinal game, and now they're playing a final. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6 games they've played in 2 days.
Yeah, I tell you, the rain really hit us here yesterday, and this is, I guess, the third change of fields that we've had. We were up on the intramural field, and then we changed to just across the way, and you can get a shot here in a minute. You can see all the mud and the gook that we have over here on the far side. And we're just about set to go from the intramural field. And it'll be Windy City against the St. Louis Tunas, the Pantera Tunas, I guess. And we've still got a little time before the game, so let's take a break. We'll be back with the men's championship in just a moment. Putting along with Steve Smith and Matt Patterson at the Ultimate Frisbee Option Invitational Tournament, 7th annual. We've got the championship coming up for you here. And it'll be Windy City of Chicago against the St. Louis Pantera Tunas. Windy City will be in the purple, and the Tunas will be in the red. I guess when you talk about Windy City, I was talking with Chris Van Buren in the women's game that they went to Switzerland, I believe, for the World Championship just a little bit ago. So they're a pretty good ball club.
Well, not a ball club, a disc club.
Disc club, I guess. You have to understand, still getting reacclimated to the disc away from your traditional round object sports, I guess.
Sure, I understand. Yeah, pretty interesting. It definitely had to be a major involvement for these people. Now, they weren't sponsored. It's not a sponsored team of any type. They had to get the money themselves. Most of these players are still of that age where money is a really scarce item.
Yeah.
And, to get up the money to go to Switzerland, to get over there and then to have the money to spend there and then trying to get back, as well as making this tournament, they're involved in this sport, no doubt.
It's going to be a little bit of a muddy field. As I said, you can see where the rain has caused havoc on our field here. We were across the far away, and most of our crowd still stayed around, and it'll be Windy City against the St. Louis Pantera Tunas. Matt, what can you tell us about the Pantera Tunas? They come in here into the round-robin tournament playing Windy City. What are they going to have to do to defeat this team from Chicago?
Well, this year Windy City the Tunas really have a hot team. It seems like they picked up some players from Dallas, which are really going to help them a lot. And as you can see, they have close to probably 21 players, and that's sometimes teams will think that's too many, but they really have a strong line. This is the strongest line I've ever seen them have, really.
Now, this St. Louis team, they're sponsored by Pantera. I guess it's a pizzeria in St. Louis. Do they all come from St. Louis? Do they come from around the country?
Like I said, there's a few from Texas, and I think there's like a couple guys that live in Columbia, Missouri, but most of the bulk of the players from the St. Louis area, yes.
I was talking in the women's game to Chris Van Buren about how many tournaments a women's team would play. But what about the men? Is this the start of their season? Is this more or less halfway through, or where are they right now?
Okay, again, along with the name of Ultimate, they play this game year-round. Obviously, they're not playing too much during the winter, but they do have a spring season, a summer season, and we're just getting ready to get into our fall season. This is just a regional tournament of sorts. The winner here doesn't advance to any kind of play, but within the next month we're going to start a sectional tournaments around the country where teams will advance from the sectional level to a regional level, and then to a national level, and then to the World Championship. So in a sense, they're starting their most important season, the fall season.
So we're just about set to go. As I said, there you see the team from Windy City in Chicago. They'll be in the purple uniforms, I guess we could say, and the far side will be the St. Louis Pantera Tunas. After a long delay, we were delayed in getting the semifinals started this morning. We're set to go from the SMS campus. In the women's game today, St. Louis Nemesis soundly defeated the Lawrence, Kansas Grass Carps by a score of 13-1. They took the women's championship of the UFO IT tournament. No referees in this game, and that's something that has struck me about this particular type ball game. The players are very honest about it and making their own calls, and I guess that lends to some of the flavor of the sport, and that you've got to be pretty honest about having to make your own calls.
Yeah, that's the really amazing thing about this. There's a lot of socialization here. People just don't come into town and play the game and go off. We were together last night for a party, and that's where people start to mix it up. And I think because of all the socialization, there's a little bit more of an opportunity for those players to kind of adhere to what we call the spirit of the game. And that's simply that you're here to play hard, play to win, but never at the expense of your opponent. I think there's a lot of other sports that kind of breed some other kind of feelings towards sport, but we kind of consider this to be the best sport, and that's probably one of the main ingredients.
There goes the pull, and will be taken by the Pantera Club. Now, you're going to see a lot of quick passes coming down the field. They won't go for the long pass. They want to go for those short, quick type passes. Now,
they're getting ready to do something here. You'll notice that the players will come back to the disc, and then they'll try to clear it out, and that gives an opportunity for another player to come in. We're getting ready to score here.
You see a pass into the end zone, and they're going to have a dispute on this. The St. Louis player is saying that he caught the ball, and the Windy City Club is arguing that he trapped the ball. And yeah, you see one of the major problems, I think, with not having referees. Now, who's going to have the final say on a situation like this, guys?
Okay, Matt, I'll let him take that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's usually the player that makes the catch should know, and he should be honest about it. But if he didn't really see it, the thing to do is to ask someone from a better vantage point and say, did I have the disc? And hopefully the sideline people aren't going to be prejudiced towards them. If they don't like the particular team, they're going to say, you caught it and it was good, or else you dropped it. And usually that's the end of that.
Well, they're going to rule that he trapped it, so it'll be Windy City disc as they move down the field. by regular standards, the field is 70 by 40, but they've had to move the field due to the mud, so it may be just a little bit adjusted with 25-yard end zones. And the Tunas coming down the field. They have set plays these teams run in any type of situation, or is it just basically freelance?
I think it's pretty much the case that they have a general idea of how they want to advance the disc. A few teams have some set plays, but the nature of the game is a little bit random, and I don't know, they're not really calling out number 1 or number 2,
right.
But yeah, they've got a general idea of what they want to do.
They also, you'll note that they have a very few guys that are what are known as disc handlers who will pretty much take control of the disc and move it up the field where they can get it to halfway and move it into a forward position. Somebody will be cutting in the end zone, and usually the better, quicker guys are the disc handlers and the ones who really run in the team.
And Windy City on the board first is they got the disc down the field quickly, and they're up 1-0. That's something that a lot different from the women's game. The disc gets down and up and down the field a lot quicker. They use those short, choppy type passes, whereas the women, I noticed they used a lot more of the long bomb type pass when they try to get it down the field. But you want to try and be consistent with the throw, I'm gathering. Is that a good statement?
Oh yeah, consistency is definitely the kind of thing that the offensive teams are looking for. A few years ago in the national tournament, both the teams were right around 96% completion rate. Obviously, if you get the disc on the pull and you don't turn it over, you're going to score.
Right.
Basically, this game does get down to those elements where you're counting the number of turnovers and so on.
So the pull will come from the Windy City. You see this little interesting type of formation here.
It's almost what you would call a lot of teams call it a psych factor. They try to get up in a sense that be together and maybe act a little goofy, and maybe it'll help them. Maybe it'll help them play a little better. Now there's a turnover by Randy Drake of the St. Louis Tunas, and that's a no-no for Randy. He's going to hear that from Tom, I think.
So the Windy City deep in territory with a chance to score it. A long pass down, and they're in the end zone for a point. That's a nice, pretty pass, that overhand type spinning pass. Not a safe pass, not a pass you see commonly, but it worked, and they're out in front 2-0. That looks like a dangerous pass to throw, and that's something he'd use commonly because it's hard to control the consistency where the disc is going to go. It could probably take off on you in a number of directions, couldn't it?
True, the wind has much more of a, or at least the wind is much more of a factor when that disc is traveling upside down, because the flight plate is going to be a little bit more involved with the wind. That particular play, though, he had real good control. He did have a receiver open in the end zone. Just a perfect pass. That was just terrific.
I noticed on our monitor we had a shot of the UFO IET 7th Annual Frisbee, and it had the insignia of Springfield, Missouri on it. Do they use a particular type of disc for this tournament, or is this any disc on agreement with both teams?
They're using a disc right now that's out of production. This is called an 80 mold. That's simply the number of the injection mold that was used to make it. It's made by a company called Whammo Manufacturing, and they're the people that have the patent on the name Frisbee, and they're the makers of the only true Frisbee. That's the standard disc that people play with.
This is the Pantera Tunas, and disc is knocked away. What is going to be legal contact on a play by the defensive man? That situation, why was that not a foul?
I suppose on that one, that was Randy Drake. It was just a judgment on his part that the contact there didn't have anything to do with him missing the disc. The rules are basically the same in football. The receiver has a right to a position, and if the defender bumps him or knocks him down or inhibits his play in any way, that the receiver can call a foul.
And Windy City looking to go up front by 3. Trying to get the position, and the disc into the end zone is going to go way far along. It'll be Tuna ball. Now, where will they take the take the disc now after it goes so far out of bounds like that?
All right, well, it went out the side of the end zone, so that they'll have to bring it back up the far sideline and have it right at that point where that man is standing on right by the cone. He's got to have his foot right at that point. and he can move. He has to keep his pivot foot there, and he can move back and forth from there.
Okay. Is there any difference in the men's game from the women? Is that when you catch the disc, are you allowed a certain number of steps, momentum steps, I guess you can call them?
Okay, that is in the rules. Obviously, if you're running down the field as fast as you can, you try to catch the disc. What they're asking, there's good collision, nobody hurt. Back to the momentum rule. What the rules ask you to do is just stop in the fewest amount of steps that it takes. Another turnover.
Down the field and the turnover, it'll be Windy City disc. They're out on top 2-0. Now this field that they've moved to now certainly in better condition than the one in use during the women's game. Became what would be best described as a veritable quagmire. On the defense is Tom Hyman for St. Louis. No offsides in this game. Disc is tipped away. In that particular type of play, it's not to your advantage to intercept the disc. You just want to knock it down because you'll get it anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, though, it's a good idea to grab it and take a hold of it, because you will hit the disc and it'll hang in the air, and it'll give that offensive guy an extra chance to get it. Now there's a great defensive play by Lou from Tuna.
A fast break for Windy City, but he was back to take it away, and here comes St. Louis.
It seemed like they tried to force that one. Windy City should be playing more controlled. I think they have a better game at that. They're trying to push it in the end zone, and they really don't need to yet. They got the lead going, and they should just play. Oh, now there's a drop pass.
Well, they tried to get the fast break, and they didn't make it, so it'll go over, and it'll be Windy City disc. About how much will these players practice during a normal week, or do they even have time to practice together?
Oh, sure. At this level, obviously, they're getting together 2 or 3 times a week at least. Sometimes more. 2 or 3 hours at a time. Lots of wind sprints. Lots of endurance running. They work on drills and things like that. They put a lot of time and effort to get to this caliber of the game of ultimate.
We have a player hurt on the field. It's 2-0. Chicago Windy City in the lead over St. Louis Pantera, and we'll take a break and we'll be back in just a moment. With you at the UFO IT tournament on the campus of SMSU. It's Windy City of Chicago against the St. Louis Pantera Tunas as action resumes. Pretty nice day to play once they got all the rain out of the way, and this is the Windy City club in about midfield on the far side. Matt Patterson joining me here today. Steve Smith will be along with us also. Deep pass into the end zone, and the catch made right on the side. That'll be a point for Windy City, and they're up 3-0 now.
Looks like they're starting to take control here.
3-0, and they're the defending national and world champions. So we've got a chance to see. I guess you can't get much better than Chicago Windy City if you want to see ultimate frisbee.
No, not at this point. It's really something that I don't know if it's a curse on a team that wins nationals and then goes to the world champions, but it's never been done twice in a row by the same team. So, you know, they're right here. They look like they have their strong team, but we'll see about it next season.
When you're a team captain and you're looking for players, and I'm not really sure how they get players to be on the ball club, but I guess you'd also be looking for players who are good basketball players or good high jumpers or good volleyball players.
That's a theory from a lot of guys think that the tall, fast guys, you know, if you have a disc and you have somebody in the end zone, to toss it up into the middle of the end zone, if you have a guy who's, say, 6'5", 6'6", he's going to have a better vantage point and be able to grab
well, Chicago on top now, 3-0. And they get set to what is known as the pull, putting the disc into play. Do these teams on this type of level have one player who will always pull?
Usually not. They can't just have one because not everybody's in at the same time, and they usually have 2 to 3 to 4, up to 4 players that'll pull the disc, but usually not any more than that.
And the pull is going to be on the far side, and the Tunas will put it into play. It's going to be the first team to score 21 points to win this championship of the UFO tournament. And a nice diving play as St. Louis player almost came up with a disc. And that's Jordan Halpern with the disc for Chicago Windy City. He's being guarded
Very closely, and there's a great play by Tom, the captain of the Tunas.
Tom Hyman. We had a chance to talk to him before we get into action today. Panteras with a chance to score. They're deep in Windy City territory, trying to work it around. I tell you, that Windy City defense is awful tenacious, and just out of the reach.
Just out of Joe Manzer's hands.
So Windy City will have the disc, and you can see how closely they'll guard them. I believe you have 10 counts to get that disc away when you're guarded. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's usually 12, and this tournament, it seems in the last year they've been changing that around a little bit, and the captains talk about it at the captains meeting before the tournaments, and this year they decided on 10.
Is there an international or national committee who will come up with the rules to go by, or is it just mutual agreement?
Yes, well, the regional coordinators get together and refine the rules every year, and Steve Smith is part of that team that does that, and they put a lot of time into it and effort, and they change things every year, of course. They're trying to get better, but it's a hard thing to do, for a new sport. You gotta.
Yeah, that's something I noticed in the first game. You see so many people out here, and it's a friendly type atmosphere. There's no referees, and this is getting back to, I guess, what you can call the grassroots of sports. Everybody's having fun. It's a friendly competition, no referees, and that's a good sport. In the tournament, round-robin tournament, both these teams have played 4 games and are both undefeated. So a matchup of the undefeated teams. And
well, as of now, they've all played. They played 4 games yesterday, 3 in the pools and 1 in the quarterfinals, and they all advanced. And then today they played the semis. So actually, this is their 6th game of the tournament.
And the tournament started out with 16 men's teams. Competition started Saturday morning. They were assigned to pool positions, and you see the turnovers so far in the ball game. The Panteras have turned the disc over 11 times. Windy City has turned it over 6. So you've got to hold on to that disc, and the Panteras have turned it over enough, and Windy City has taken advantage of it and is out in front 3-0.
I think that those statistics show the score right there. I mean, the Panteras team is turning it over way too many times to expect to stay in this game.
And we've got a timeout as Windy City talks it over. How many timeouts are you allowed in a ball game?
3.5, and they usually, in these championship games, they all get used.
What are they considering a half? They're saying 21 points to the championship. Is it the first team to 10 that they're calling a half?
First to 11.
First to 11?
And then the first to 21 for the win.
So, play's about to resume. The Panteras will have the disc. I understand they can also use a man or a zone defense, and Windy City preferring to go with a man-to-man here. What's the advantage?
Well, on a day like this when it's not too, there's wind is involved, but it's not too windy. Whereas yesterday it was raining and very windy. You can use a zone because they have to make more passes. The opposing team has to make more passes, and it's harder to get a pass off. And these two, with the high level of competition here, both teams can cut a zone up if there's no wind. So they're preferring man-to-man and hoping that they could stay with their individual man.
The Tunas on the attack. Into the end zone, and what a catch! And that's a point for the Tunas.
Jack Curran threw that. He has a sharp forehand. He's been playing the game for about 5 years, I think.
I'll make your score 3-1, Chicago Windy City in the lead. How long does it take to play this game on this type of competition before you get, well, not this type of competition, but how long do you have to play before you really can play this type of competition?
I would say that you would have to have already been involved in keeping in shape and being an athlete for probably since you were in 10 or 12 years old. Most of these guys have been playing sports all their life.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the Frisbee aspect, the ultimate game. How long most of these guys played the game?
3 to 4 years. Yeah. There's players here. And then there's the really experienced people that have been here for 7 and 8 and 10 years. But once again, it's a young man's sport.
Yeah.
You have to do a lot of running and,
Yeah, it's an all-physical game. You just can't, you see the football games, you see these big linemen who sometimes in their older age get overweight, but it's all running out here. A lot of contact, a lot of diving, a lot of scraped-up knees. So not the sport for the older type people. Most of the young guys play this game, and this is Windy City on the attack.
Windy City's players probably average 23 to 24 years old. There's a few older and a few younger guys, but on the average.
And good defense on the far side. Disc is knocked away. It'll be Pantera disc, and they look like they're getting momentum back after trailing early 3-zip.
Yeah, they really have a strong line. They just need to get it together. They've been playing together for probably 6 years now.
These teams I've noticed, for example, Tom Hyman, who just threw the disc, do they try to stay in a particular position like back row players or back line players and middle players, or do they have position names, or what exactly?
Usually when you line up, the captain will call off the line and he'll say maybe 2 or 3 workers is what he calls them. That's the people that stay in the backfield with the disc and will move the disc back and forth until they can make a throw to a middle man and then a long man. They want to really, when they can break it open, that's when they want to hit the long people.
Kind of like a guard in basketball. The point guard is in his off guard in the backcourt of the basketball
game. He takes control of the ball and he moves it around and he calls the plays and points people out where to go. It's the same concept in the disc handler position.
It'll be Windy City disc. Sometimes it's one of the disadvantages of not having referees is when there is stoppage in action on the field, you have a hard time determining exactly what exactly has happened. And a long pass down the field, and that's going to be in the end zone for a point for Windy City. A little spike by the player, and they're now on top 4-1. So Windy City leads it over St. Louis 4-1, and let's take a timeout, and we'll be back with more Ultimate Frisbee Option Invitational Tournament in just a moment. The Mounties team you play for made it to the semifinals and just got real close, but no cigar, I guess you could say, here in the tournament. Now, how would you evaluate your team's performance?
Boy, it was a good, positive weekend for us. We were together last year, had a lot of new players, had our ups and downs last season. Tried to get together this spring, and things were starting to come for us. Worked throughout the summer, and then this fall we really started to work on a few things. A lot of drills and trying to get everybody doing the same thing on the field at the same time, and it paid off for us. We played some really terrific games yesterday. Had good individual efforts from Steve May and Carl Orbick, and just because of all that, we're real pleased with what happened to us this weekend.
Of course, there were 16 teams, I guess, in the men's field. How would you evaluate the competition that was in the tournament this weekend?
This is a very strong tournament. There's another score by the Tunas.
That'll make it 4-2, Windy City in the lead.
That was good offense down the field. They worked it, 5 or 6 passes, had a good long penetrating pass, and then for a score. That was real good effort. Back to the tournament and the strength of this. We've got the world champions now, Windy City, and that right there kind of indicates that we've got definitely the top level competitors. The Tunas here have been a nationally contending team. 2 years ago, they were runner-up in the national championship. The team that we had from Boulder that was in the other semifinal game have been out to California, have fared real well out there, beating some really nationally ranked teams, and just because of all that, this is a real strong tournament.
Getting set for the poll from the St. Louis Pantera Tunas. What do you see next year for this particular tournament? You going to try to increase the field or stay basically with what's been successful, or what's your feelings on next year's?
That's a tough one. I'm not going to be thinking about it for the next couple weeks, that's for sure. This has been an effort since February. It's not the case that you just pick up a phone and the tournament comes to life. This was an all-out effort on my part with the sponsors and trying to get things taken care of. Next year, probably the same. The 16-team format seems to work for us here. We can accommodate women's teams, and people can come here, have a good time, and leave without too much of a problem. So basically the same, but would like to make the field even stronger if we could.
Pass into the end zone, Windy City now on top 5-2. Just talking in the women's game, the team from Chicago Nemesis had a very tight defense, but I think the thing that impresses me most about Windy City is their quickness on offense. Where they get an opportunity, they take advantage of it, and they get down the field a lot more quickly, and they do some things with the disc that you seem to puts them just a step above somebody else, it seems to me.
Oh yeah, they you might notice too that during their offensive plays down the field, they get the disc and get rid of it as fast as they can. Sometimes if they're set up in a situation where the defender is right there whenever the disc is moving, they're not able to move that disc, and then they kind of get bogged down. The defenders are able to set up. If you get that disc and the defense is a little unstable, and you keep moving it, you got a better chance of scoring just simply because the defense isn't set.
Back to the women a little bit. There were 5 teams, I think, in the round-robin tournament this weekend. Do you think there'll be an opportunity to increase the number of teams there, or does the competition lend itself to that?
The women teams have been around for quite a long time. I think that it's a little bit more difficult to encourage women to come out and play a non-traditional sport, if you will. We've had 5 this year. I sent letters nationwide trying to get some teams from the East Coast, Michigan, from the West Coast to come in, but I guess this year, there were some other things going on. There's a terrific pass in the end zone. Just didn't make it.
Just a little bit short, it'll come back the other way. Well, I guess it like you said, you start back in February, people won't realize how long it would take somebody to get a tournament like this together, and a lot of advanced planning. I guess just as soon as you turn around and this tournament's over, you start on next year almost.
Yeah, that's pretty much the case. We had a little bit of difficulty pulling this tournament off last year. It was a little bit easier this year. Terrific defensive play by Doug Parrish.
And quickly down the field, the Panteras, and the player's going to have to wait for his team to get up close. The pass will be into the end zone for a point. So St. Louis Pantera Tunas have pulled within 2. It's now 5-3, Windy City in the lead. A fast break opportunity there came up, and I think Windy City caught themselves dragging a little bit back down here on this side of the field.
Yeah, it's a long game. These kinds of things are going to happen throughout the game. It's still in the early stages. Like I said, this is going to be like a 2-hour game. We're going to find ourselves towards the latter end of this game. I'm thinking that it's going to be really, really tight. And as we get down to those final few points, the play that's going to have to take part at that is, they're really going to have to be stronger, even though they're going to be wearing out.
Yeah. So the pull will come from the Pantera Tunas. These players have to be tired after the long competition over the weekend, playing in the muck and the goo and the rain yesterday. Stamina levels have to be going down.
Yeah, that's definitely a factor. Even in the late stages, although you're getting more psyched, you're getting more adrenaline going, simply because maybe the game's going to be a little bit tighter. Fatigue's definitely going to be a factor, and maybe it may be the case that the team that's in better shape is going to win this one.
And here goes Windy City. They've got to be looking at a little bit of trouble here, and we've got a turnover for some odd reason, possibly. No, it's going to be Windy City disc. What was the problem there?
I don't know. I
see that way out of bounds.
And there's another turnover. This is a good opportunity for the Tunas to catch up here, getting ready to score. There's a pass to the inside.
Now, I tell you, they're pulling within 1. Pass near the end zone. They're just a couple of feet away, and now you've got to wait for your men to clear. Tight defense by Windy City. This is Hyman looking to dish off. Boy, look at that defense. They won't let him in. Finally, they get it into the end zone for a point, and it's 5-4.
Okay, back on this particular offensive play, you saw a lot of things that are really elementary here as far as scoring. Get the disc, get rid of it. It doesn't make any difference down at this end of the field whether or not you go forward or backwards with it. Sometimes when you do that dump pass, that opens up that offense a little bit. Basically what they were trying to do is get it to the middle of the field. Then they've got an opportunity to work both sides.
Right.
You'll notice that there was a real good catch on one side of the field, went back to the middle, another pass, went back to the weak side, we call it, and then for a score.
So you're trying to get rid of the disc quickly to keep that defense off balance, in other words.
Right.
Well, we've got a ball game now. Windy City 5 and the Pantera Tunas 4. 5-4 is our score. Let's take a break. We'll be back with more Ultimate Frisbee action in just a moment on Cable 4 Springfield. Matt Coatney, Steve Smith back with you. SMS Campus Ultimate Frisbee Option Invitational Tournament. We've got the defending national and world champion Windy City from Chicago. They've got the disc right now against the St. Louis Pantera Tunas. Got a good game going on now. Windy City on top 5-4 after they broke out to a 3-0 lead early, but Pantera Tunas have come back, and just a drop right there, and so Pantera will have a chance to come down and tie this score up. Momentum definitely has turned in this game. It's kind of hard to get out of the mold of calling it a ball game when actually this using a disc or a frisbee, I guess you could call it. It's not a ball game.
We'll let you call it a ball game because we sometimes refer to the flying disc as a flat ball, so that'll be okay.
The disc is out of bounds, and it'll be Windy City disc, deep in their own territory. This is interesting that you really don't have a goal to defend. It's different all the time, and you don't have the wind problems of having a wind advantage, because after you score, you stay on that end and go the other way.
Right. Everybody at the end of the game would end up having an equal amount of going into the wind and working against it.
Dump pass down the field is knocked away. Pretty defensive play, and now Windy City will come back. Or I guess it's St. Louis Panteras. Nice collision on the far side. You have a lot of injuries in this sport, Steve. The major injuries. You can see there'll probably be a lot of bumps and bruises, but
I don't know if there's any more of a major injury statistic, but definitely has its share of ankle problems, knee problems, and things. Most of these players get hurt, but yet they're still going to keep playing.
Collision there. Windy City on the disc. They're getting close to a score right on the side of the end line. Like you said right here, you want to get rid of it as quick as you can. They're stalling a little bit, and a quick pass is going to go wide. Seems like they weren't able to clear anybody out, and they had to slow it down. That might have resulted in the reason they didn't score.
Yeah, that looked like a forced play to me. Maybe not a whole lot of thought as to really getting down there and planning out that offensive opportunity. But it's a long game. We're going to see a lot of that.
The Pantera Tunas, their captain Tom Hyman.
There's another turnover.
Well, deep down there, Windy City should get points out of this. They're going to try to score quickly. Panteras get back just about as quickly. They go back just a little bit. Nobody's open yet. I wonder in this situation if you would have any set plays set up just for this situation. Whereas I will go here, if we're here, I'll go to this spot of the field in this situation.
Yeah, you might notice there's a few people out in front. They're going to be the main disc handlers. Then you've got people in the end zone. They're going to be your receivers. It's just good, tight defense by the Tunas, but they're being patient. They can stand out here all day and work the disc. If they score, it doesn't make any difference. There's no time limit. So as long as they're patient, they'll score.
And close, and is he in? Yes, that'll count for a point. Windy City will go up 6-4.
Yeah, Windy City on that one was real patient. It looked as if they weren't getting anywhere, but yet they held on to it, made sure that they were patient, and then got the good score.
6-4, Windy City leads it. We'll be back in just a moment. Steve, tournament like this, you need a lot of support, I guess, financially from people, and I guess you've got a lot of help from people here in the community.
Yeah, I did. I think there was some real interest on the part of a few sponsors. Domino's Pizza was kind enough to help us with our after the quarterfinals pizza party. It's pretty much the case that everybody's so busy during the day they don't even have an opportunity to eat. Went down to Phelps Grove Park, had a terrific Domino's Pizza party. Then right after that, we went out to a horse arena in Brookline and drank some beer. That was compliments of light beer from Miller, premium beverage sales here in town. Richard Gellner was working with me on that, as well as Z105 Radio, Springfield's new rock station. They helped to get the word out. So all three of those sponsors are really appreciated, and they definitely made it a worthwhile weekend.
Windy City on the attack. They're looking to go up by 3 if they can punch the disc in here. They're patient on their game. Tuna defense has been tight the last couple of times down, but Windy City gets in the end zone. Now they're back out on top by 3, 7-4. It's their biggest lead since they went on top 3-0 early in the game. I wonder how much of a factor momentum plays in this game. If you get a couple of scores in a row, I wonder how much, you know, to me, in volleyball especially, is a sport where momentum plays a huge part. I wonder how much it does here.
Oh, momentum is everything in this game. Case in point, UFO 3, the Mounties, which is the local team that I play on, at halftime we were down to one of the nationally ranked teams from Dallas. We were down 10-1. Looked bleak for us at halftime. We ended up winning that game by a point. It's just the case that they had the momentum in the first half. We had super momentum in the second half and beat them. The game is fast enough. A turnover close to your end zone can result in 1 point just by the other team picking up the disc and throwing it in. Just passes that are thrown out of bounds, and things can happen at any moment. And momentum, 3, 4, 5, 6 points by a team in a row is not uncommon, even at this level of play.
Pull will come from Windy City. I know you're involved nationally on the Ultimate Frisbee circuit. Is there any type of national meetings in the off season to go over any rule changes or any type of discussions?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, there's a national and worldwide players association called the Ultimate Players Association, UPA for short. I attended a meeting in March in Greenwich, Connecticut, and yeah, we spent the weekend talking about the future of our sport. Oh, jeez, a terrific effort there.
Just out of the back of the end zone, and it'll be Pantera disc.
The UPA is the organization that's responsible for the sectional tournament, the regional tournament, all the sectional and regional tournaments around the country, as well as the national tournament, which, by the way, this year will be held Thanksgiving weekend in Santa Barbara, California. Both these teams right here will be teams that may be involved in that. And, you know, we like to say that they're from our region, so we play good ultimate here in the Midwest.
Windy City with the disc. Where will the regional tournament be held, or how does the qualification work for the Nationals?
Okay, for those teams that are in Missouri, we'll go to a Missouri-Iowa sectional. We'll take 3 teams from there to go to a regional, which will be held in Lexington, Kentucky. As a matter of fact, I'm the regional coordinator for the Central region, which is a 16-state area. A lot of significant traveling involved with all those teams that are at that level. And we'll take 2 from our region. There's 5 regions in the country, and each region gets 2 of the men's team to qualify for a 10-team national tournament.
Yeah, it sounds like some good qualifying competition coming up. Where will the Missouri-Iowa qualifying play be held?
Be held in Columbia, Missouri. Has been for the last 4 or 5 years, and it's a really good tournament.
Deep downfield, almost caught by Windy City, so St. Louis will come back the other way.
Lots of turnovers here. We're going to see swings in inconsistency. There's going to be cases where just the concentration and the fatigue factor is going to be setting in. Teams aren't able to concentrate. It's almost
nice catch.
Almost another turnover. But there's another bad pass. It's just this part of the game. Maybe a little bit later on somebody's going to score, and then the consistency will get a little bit higher. But it seems to me like there's an unusual amount of turnovers in this game, because both these teams definitely play a controlled offense.
So it'll come back the other way with Windy City. I was wondering, today's game Frisbee brought to you by Ozatco Pool Company, by Barclays Rental, and by Bressler's 33 flavor ice cream. Steve, I was wondering, on a national level, how consistent is the rules on points played to or time limit? For example, today's game being played by 21 point being the winner. Is that used nationally, or is that decided before the match by the team captains, or how does that look nationally?
Okay, even as late as 4 or 5 years ago, teams were switching back and forth between timed games and point games. Pretty much the case now that even, maybe within the last 2 years, everywhere you go, you find that teams are playing to points. The reason for this is that if you're playing a time game, we're just not in the situation where you have clocks that you can easily see. There's maybe somebody on the sideline with a stopwatch, and just the information about how much time is left just doesn't get out. So the point game is just easier to administer, and there doesn't seem to be so much pressure, you know, as there would be with a time game, and players like it. You know, they enjoy playing to points because they have an idea of when they're going to stop. They know that if they got one more point to score and win the game, that'll be the end of it.
7-4, Windy City leads it. We'll be back in just a moment. Windy City on the attack. That pass is knocked away, and St. Louis comes up with it.
It's a good defensive play by D. Rambo. He lives in St. Louis now. Was a Dallas player for quite a few years. Definitely one of the better players on that Dallas team at the time, and now he's playing with the Tunas.
Little give and go pass.
Windy City's defense really creates some things, makes it difficult to move against them. We played them this morning, and their defense was really creating havoc with our offense.
Down the field now goes the Pantera Tunas. Long pass deep down the field. That'll be a point for St. Louis. Now they've pulled back within 2, 7-5.
That was a pass from Doug Parrish, one of the faster players in the country for sure. Saw D. Rambo cut into the corner. It was a good pass and resulted in a real quick score for the Tunas.
So that'll make it 7-5, the Windy City lead. It's a little bit of a closer game than I anticipated. Windy City coming off a world championship in Switzerland. I guess you can see just how even the competition is, though, in the Midwest. I'm wondering, is the Midwest compared to the East Coast and the West Coast, where do they rank levels of competition in ultimate Frisbee?
It kind of swings back and forth. Fortunately, this year, we're proud to say that along with Windy City being nationally the national champs, the women's national champs is from Michigan. So the Midwest this year has the two better teams in both divisions. Before that, it swung back and forth, East Coast or West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
The game originated in New Jersey in the late 60s, and they definitely have more teams on the East Coast, but every year, you never know.
So Windy City will take it down the field. And you can substitute in this game, number of substitutes into the game for Windy City. When are you allowed to substitute?
The only time you're allowed to substitute is after a point or, well, let's see, that would be the only situation after a point.
Long pass down the field. Did he catch it? I think he came up with it for the point. Nice catch on the far end. He was covered by a Tuna player, and Windy City has the point, and they're up 8-5.
That was Tim Dugan on the defense. Played it right, just a terrific pass and even a better catch. Tim started down here in Springfield in the UFO League, moved to St. Louis, got involved in some of the league play up there, and eventually got on the Tuna team and has been playing for them for the last 4 or 5 years, I suppose.
Well, their lead has shifted from about 2 to 3 points. They're now back up 8-5. And the Windy City team won't have the pull on their end of the field. Real nice day it's turned out to be. We still have a threat of rain coming to the west, but hopefully that'll hold off from us. Will they continue to play in the rain if the rain comes down? How'd that work out yesterday?
Well, we played. Teams, you know, make a tremendous effort to get here, and simply because of all the numbers of teams, it's difficult to restructure. As long as it's not life-threatening, right through the trees. As long as the weather's not life-threatening, we'll play.
Right through the trees and right back out. So it'll be Tom Hyman for the Pantera Tunas.
It's over to Doug Parrish right now. Doug and Tom and Jack, who's got the disc right now, are the 3 main disc handlers for the Tunas.
And we've got a stoppage in play. The murmur from the crowd right in front of us. The crowd really gets into this game. All the people out here who are watching, I guess, are fairly well associated with all the team members. A real close-knit type group between all these UFO players. And so play resumed. This is Hyman. Pantera Tunas trailing by 3. into the deep mud. Down the field, and Hyman has it, and the Tunas are looking to put it into the end zone, and there's a catch, diving catch for the score. Both teams scoring at a fairly good clip, and now it's 8-6. Windy City in the lead. Could you see, since you're involved on a national level in Frisbee, in years to come, as the sport grows, where referees will be inserted into the game?
I don't know. 2 or 3 years ago, I thought I heard a lot more dialogue on that issue than I have the last couple years. This is my 9th season that I've been playing. I started playing the game when it was relatively new, especially to this area. I've always been a firm believer in the spirit of the game. It's just one of those things where we'll just have to wait and see. If that was ever the case, that referees were a part of this game, we would be just like everybody else. And I think that ultimate players are proud to say that they play this game simply because it is a little bit different, and that particular element kind of sets us apart from your traditional players: football, soccer, softball, all the so-called major sports. And we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. Windy City on the attack, a nice diving catch there, and here the Chicagoans go.
That pass was definitely affected by the wind, really hung up there. Windy City was lucky to get that one back.
Well, the wind's picked up here on the SMS campus, and the Tunas have the turnover. Give and go pass, now looking to score. Windy City defense getting back very, very slow, and that's almost a gimme point, and now it's 8-7, the Windy City lead. The Windy City defense did not get back, and I think I see some tongues dragging out there. I think the long afternoons began to take its toll. So a point for the Pantera Tunas, it's 8-7. This is the championship of the men's division. It was a 16-team field. Some of the other teams coming from, I guess, Austin, Texas, Minneapolis, Lawrence, Kansas, Columbia, Kansas City, Boulder, Colorado, Spanish Lake, Missouri, Oklahoma City, Manhattan, Kansas, Carbondale, Illinois, Fayetteville, Arkansas. So the tournament's pretty much regionalized. We see the sights and sounds of the Ultimate Frisbee tournament here on the SMS campus. And the pull will come from the Panteras.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to go down there and do that.
And here comes the flip. It's a deep pull to be taken deep in the end zone by Windy City. Now, in this particular situation, he's able to run it back to the end line since it was out of the end zone.
Okay, if the disc is thrown into the end zone, the receiver has 2 choices. They can either take it exactly where they picked it up, or they can run it up to the end line. Just depends on the situation. If the defense is down, it may be the case that they think it's better to bring it up, set up the offense, and then go with it. But sometimes players like to just pick it up and go with it if the defense hasn't set itself. There's another score.
And Windy City on the board. They lead 9-7. Let's take a break. Windy City leads it over the Pantera Tunas 9-7. We'll be back in just a moment on Cable 4 Sports. City team from Chicago on top of the St. Louis Pantera Tunas by a score of 9-7. Our women's match today, the championship was won by a team from Chicago. The Chicago Nemesis went through the tournament with a record of 5-0. They defeated Lawrence, Kansas Grass Carp. That score was 13-1. Right now it's 9-7 Windy City in the lead. They'll have the pull. And here come the Pantera Tunas. The field, as we said, this is the 3rd time we've changed positions. Play was supposed to instigate today from the SMS intramural field, and they moved it just across the way. I think you can see the boundaries of where we were before, and now we've moved just back a little bit. Quickly down the field, here go the Panteras, just out of the reach. It'll go the other way, and the disc will belong to Chicago Windy City. Windy City, the defending national and world champions in the tournament. And the disc is just a little wide. Here goes St. Louis. Remember last year we had St. Louis The Panteras last year opposed the Kansas City Ultimatos here on Cable 4 Springfield. This year, they've got the national champions in. We have a timeout. They'll play 2 halves, and the first team to score 21 points will be the victor of the tournament. Time is taken on the field. Sixteen teams opened this round-robin tournament. As I said, they came all the way from Chicago. 2 teams from here in Springfield, Minneapolis, Lawrence, Kansas, Columbia, Missouri, Kansas City, Boulder, Colorado, Oklahoma City, Manhattan, Kansas, Carbon, Illinois, and even Fayetteville, Arkansas was represented here at the round-robin tournament held on the SMS campus. 7th time they've hosted this UFO IT tournament. 5 teams in the women's competition, regional-type tournament, and the national champions, as Steve was telling us just a little earlier, will be held in Santa Barbara, California this year. It's a different type of sport, and we're glad we could bring it to you today here on Cable 4 Springfield. Now we're just about set to resume action on the field. They've changed the dimensions just a little bit to compensate, I guess you could say, for the field conditions. Regulation field would be 70 yards long by 40 yards wide, and they've made the end zones 25 yards deep. And play's just about set to resume. It'll be the Panteras who will be on the offensive side of the disc. These players played 6 games in the tournament, so they're bound to be dragging just a little bit. There's Tom Hyman, the captain of the team. We had a chance to talk to him earlier. And the Panteras driving, and a nice play to knock the pass away in the end zone, so we'll come the other way. Well, the Pantera Tunas are playing this Chicago team tough, and they played them twice this year. Windy City has won both. They blew them out one time, and a game very similar to this the last time they played. Windy City will put it into play right in front of the goal line. They'll be moving from your right to your left. And the players break, and here goes the Windy City team. The pass is high and knocked out of bounds by St. Louis. So we'll go the other way. Defense plays a big part. You can see in that particular play, didn't need to actually intercept the pass. He just needed to knock it away, because if you knock it away, it'll be your ball or your disc. And play just about set to resume. A lot of mud getting on that disc. You can see the player wiping it off. Where he's standing is about in the middle of where the women's game was played earlier today. This field's going to be the worst for wear for a long time to come. And plays back into motion. A high pass, but a man from St. Louis was there, and into the end zone, Tom Hyman, and it's going to count for a point. And the game's getting closer. Windy City now leading it 9-8 over the Pantera Tunas. So with your score, Windy City 9 and the Tunas 8. Let's take a timeout, and we'll be back in just a moment. SMS Campus, the Ultimate Frisbee Option Invitational Tournament, 7th annual. We've got a good game going on here. The defending world champions, Chicago Windy City, leading the St. Louis Pantera Tunas by a score of 9-8. And this game is tightened up considerably. We're going to be nearing halftime as soon as one of the teams gets to 11 points. Nice catch by one of the many spectators along the side. And Windy City will put it into play. This tournament started on Saturday at 10 a.m. and they've played all the way through today. Round robin pool type play tournament. Tight defense being applied by the Panteras. And Windy City on the drive. Lots of short passes. They aren't as crisp as they were earlier in the game. And tenacious defense by the Tunas. Chicagoans looking to get into the end zone. A long pass down the field, and there's a catch right over Tom Hyman for the point. That'll make it 10-8. And you see Tom Hyman on the defense for St. Louis. He was just a couple inches away from deflecting that disc, but still a catch, and it's a point, and it's 10-8. Windy City has held the lead all the way throughout. They came out and led by a 3-0 count. Then it was 7-4. Now they're back out on top by a score of 10-8. So the pull will come from the far end. We see the players sitting down a little bit. It's been a long 2 days for these teams. You understand the teams getting a little tired. Both these teams, this is their 6th game. They've gone through round robin play. And the pull getting set to come. Pretty nice crowd out here today. And we're getting set to resume action. So Windy City still leading it by a score of 10-8 over St. Louis. And the pull goes high and deep down the field. And here go the Tunas.
Doug Parrish, big mistake down here by the end zone. Just a simple pass, but threw that into the ground.
And that one's going to be picked off.
Another miscue by Mike O'Dowd. Michael's been with the Windy City team for quite a few years. Definitely one of their better players.
They tried to force that particular play down in that part of the field after they got the interception. Momentum has swung back and forth here a number of times in the game, with Windy City leading at 10-8.
I think we're going to find a lot more consistency towards the end of the game. Even though that fatigue's going to be setting in, it means the championship. Both these teams have played each other in the past. There's a lot of pride riding on this game. And, like I said, there's a terrific catch. A little slow in getting up.
Just to keep it in play, it's still St. Louis possession. Well, I tell you, that Windy City defense, they get right on top of you, and they move an awful lot, and it's tough to play against them. St. Louis on the attack now. Now they're getting close to a score.
This is Bob Hammonds with the disc.
The women's championship will be coming to you first. The men's championship immediately following. And it's the championship of Ultimate Frisbee, UFO IT number 7, here on Cable 4 Springfield. But 21 points, do you have to win by 2 to be able to claim the victory?
They'll have to win by 2. I believe they have a ceiling of 25. And what that means is if they get into the situation where the score is going to be tied, when we start getting up to 20, 21, 22, 23 points, they'll play to a ceiling of 25. At that point, whoever's got the 25th point will be the winner. Yes, they do have to win by 2, but sometimes they do end up playing to a ceiling.
Well, the pull will come from St. Louis, and they've hung in there tough. They only trail by 1 as we near the half. Halftime will come when one of these teams gets to 11 points. And the pull comes high and deep, far down the field.
On these pulls now, what they're trying to do is let that disc have some hang time. Lets the defense get down and set up just like this. Makes it a little bit more difficult for the offense to move the disc.
Yeah, it would seem there'd be some strategy in that, and that you don't want to catch yourself with your pants down. I guess you could say, let a team get down on you quickly. What would probably be the next major tournament for these two teams to get involved in?
The next major one's going to be their sectional tournament. After that, they'll probably be involved in a regional tournament, which is going to be held the first weekend in November. So throughout October, they're going to be working through this for the sectionals. Then towards the end of October, they'll be working for the regional tournament.
And we have a stoppage in play. You ever see a lot of players get upset? Any fisticuffs between these players?
Never seen a fight. I've seen some pretty heavy arguments. That's another thing about this sport. I don't think anybody would really, consider this to be a truly sportsmanship game, I guess. A lot of times, some of these games mean a whole lot to these players, and although afterwards they really, have a lot of apologies to make about some of their calls and the kind of emotions that they had with it, but sometimes during the game, yeah, emotions do have a lot to do with it. There's a lot of pressure on these players. Number one, they've got to play the game, and then number two, they have to police themselves. So it's still the case that when the game is over, there's still handshakes and lots of congratulations for both teams, and there's still a learning process. Like I said, I've been playing for quite a few years, and I sometimes still find myself losing control at points, but that's what the sport gives us, is that opportunity to see how we react in different situations. Some people can handle it better than others.
Play is just about set to resume. We see some of the faithful who have been around here for most of the day watching UFO Frisbee.
You might notice on this offensive set now, you've got some people that are designated long players. They're away from the disc and down the field. You'll have possibly some people that would play the middle of the field, looking for that first penetrating pass. And whenever the disc is given back to Tom Hyman here, you'll notice that there'll be 2 or 3 people around him that'll be trying to just initially move the disc. So there is an offensive lineup here, more or less.
Hyman just about set to put it into play.
You also notice here that players come back to the disc. If they don't receive it, they clear out. Oh, good defense by Jordan from Windy City. Jordan Halperin made a really good defensive play.
And Windy City on the attack. They're close to a score and to the end zone, and that'll count for a point. So Windy City on top by a score of 11-9, and that'll be the end of the first half. So let's take a break with the score. Chicago, Windy City 11, and St. Louis Panteras 9. We'll be back in just a moment. Field, along with Neil Adams and Dave Coonrod. We're at halftime. The Chicago Windy City is leading over the St. Louis Pantera Tunas by a score of 11-9. And rather long halftime. And getting set to go back again. Guys, it looks like Windy City came out to a quick 3-0 lead in these teams' 6th game they've both played. Your analysis of the first half. Let's start with you, Dave. What's the Tunas going to have to do to get back into this?
Well, the Tunas are going to have to keep their intensity high. They've been pretty intense the first half. There are a few miscues, a lot of unforced turnovers, and I think that's what the Tunas are going to have to avoid if they're going to beat Windy City. Windy City's a very consistent team. They're fast. They'll run you to death. Both teams are showing a little bit of fatigue, as you said, from playing, this being their 6th game. So I think overall, if Tunas can watch their turnovers and not give up any of those unforced turnovers, I think they can maybe come out on top.
Neil, it seems like Windy City is, every time that St. Louis has got some momentum going, has been able to get back into it. They've always held at least a 2-point lead. They jumped out to a quick 3-0 lead. They use a lot of substitution. Why do you think that they're able to keep that intensity and not let the momentum get away from them?
Well, the key to this game, especially with Windy City, is they try not to turn over the disc too much. They try to control the disc and score every time they have a possession. So that's all they're going to try to do this half, is maintain their lead, not make any offensive mistakes, and play the best defensive game they can. So they're just going to try to control the disc, score every time they have possession, and they'll be in great shape.
Of course, Windy City, the defending national and world champions, they come in undefeated in the round-robin tournament, and they're looking to get the victory here. St. Louis Panteras, the Tunas, they played Windy City twice this year. They have lost to them both times, won by a very close score, and once they've got blown out. What do you think the field conditions, the effect? It's a little bit of a narrower field due to the muddier conditions. Do you think that's had an effect on any of the play today?
Oh, very definitely. I'd have to say yes. Sometimes when the fields are muddy like this, you can turn it around and use it to your advantage. Bring your man in that's covering you, and then make a cut when you get into the dry area and leave him scrambling around in the mud. And that can certainly have an effect. But these teams are both accustomed to playing in rather inclement conditions, rough fields, what have you. So I think overall we're just going to see a couple of teams trying to maintain as much poise and finesse as they can through the second half, given the conditions, and just try to make the fewest amount of mistakes. And the one that does is going to be the one that comes out on top.
Now we're just about set to go with second half action from the SMS campus. It's the Ultimate Frisbee Option Invitational Tournament number 7. And the pull will come from Windy City. They'll be moving from your left to your right. They're wearing the purple. And the Panteras from St. Louis.
It looks like the St. Louis team's going to pull, Matt. They switch possession just like football at halftime. So here comes the pull from Tom Hyman.
And
on your right.
Pull will come. It's a long tight pull will be coming into the end zone. Here comes Windy City. You guys been impressed with the competition in this tournament? 7th annual UFO IT tournament. What do you think the competition level has been in comparison to other tournaments you've been to, Neil?
I think it's picked up this year. They've changed the format from a A and B division tournament to an all A division tournament, so that means all the teams are of good quality. And you can tell by the field there's been a lot of running around, so I think it's been an improvement.
There's a nice defensive play.
And we'll go the other way with the disc.
Okay, Windy City didn't want to start out that way. They had good possession. They just let one float, and
there's another floater, so
deep into the end zone, it's going to go out of bounds.
Starting a little shaky. All right.
We'll go the other way with the disc.
He's bringing it out where they thought it went out of bounds, sort of like a punt in football.
In other words, they don't have to take the disc exactly the spot where it was thrown out. In other words, he didn't have to go back in the end zone.
No, it's where it left the field. Now there's
a turnover.
Yeah.
We're out of bounds, and we'll go the other way. Played at 21 points, the first team to 21.
There's an upside down pass, a nice try.
And here we go the other way. Windy City coming off a world championship in Switzerland. And they lead this one by a score of 11-9. They've got a chance to score. Deep pass down the field, and they've got the point, 12-9. We were talking before we came back out of the half about the different type passes, the unusual passes that these teams are throwing. And I think there's a situation there that's not the conventional type pass that you would use, was it?
Not at all. Using those upside down passes really help throw the defensive team off, because the disc can kind of maneuver around the defender.
There's two reasons why it's such an effective pass, too. Is one reason it doesn't stay in the air as long as a normal Frisbee pass. So if your man's open, you can throw it and it doesn't stay in the air, and he can catch it before a defender gets on him. And the second main thing that makes it such an effective pass is it comes from such an unusual angle. You don't expect it. When you're on defense, you're expecting the backhand or the sidearm, and you're just not prepared. You're usually flat-footed, and there it is, zingo.
Well, isn't that kind of like a knuckleball in baseball, in that it's harder to control where you want to put it, though?
Now, if you throw it enough, it doesn't take much practice at all to really learn how to direct it, except when it's really windy. Then you got to take that into consideration. But after a while, you can really place that pretty much where you want.
Now, Windy City back out to the 3-point lead, and Tom Hyman has the disc, and here goes St. Louis. Pantera Tunas on the attack, and the pass is out of bounds. That'll be a turnover right below us. Nice crowd on hand here today at the SMS campus, and most of them have stayed around. Windy City looking to get their biggest lead of the game. They've led by as much as 3. And they're on the attack.
You see St. Louis is playing what we call a sideline trap. They're trying to force the disc down the near side of the field.
Now
go ahead, Matt. Excuse me.
That's all right. I was going to say, there we see that pass we were talking about, and that's going to be a score. That's the same type of pass we were talking about just earlier, wasn't it?
Uh-huh. You just can't, it's such a quick release, you can't really be prepared to defend against it. It's hard to block when you're the man playing against that pass. It's almost impossible to block. And when you're on defense, it just comes at such an unusual angle that you're not expecting it to be off, and half the time you're just flat-footed, you're not prepared for it.
Well, that's going to make it 13-9. The point I was trying to make is when you get deep into field position like that, do you have any set plays you would run when you're, let's say, within 5 yards of the goal, to where I'll cut in this situation, in this particular type play, Dave?
Well, Matt, really, every team has their own little style of putting the score in. It's tough once you get down, working down the field, and get towards the end zone and then turn it over. There's nothing more demoralizing than that. But what we do here in Springfield is stack the players in the middle and then kind of work to the sidelines when you get in the end zone, and that keeps the side fields open, the alleyways there, and you can sometimes stuff it in there.
So it's 13-9 getting set for the pool. Neil, you played in the tournament. You played for Boulder, Colorado in the Slash, I guess.
No, it's the Stains.
Stains, okay. I'm looking at the Springfield team, I guess. You feel your tournament went from the Boulder, Colorado's?
Well, we were really disappointed. We came a long way, so we expected to do a lot better. It's not that we thought we played really good and lost. We played terrible. And
there's a great defensive play, and look, Rick,
and deep down the field.
Rick recovers that.
That's the thing, when you're on defense, if you can catch it, you should, because just slapping in the air, the Frisbee will stay in the air, and sometimes that happens. So that's the thing to remember. If you're on defense, try to catch that every time you can. That'll make it 13-10, the Windy City lead. And with a break in the action, let's take a break. There you see a score. It's Windy City 13 and the Panteras 10. Your way from SMSU. And Coatney along with Dave Coonrod, Neil Adams. And we've got the defending world champions, Windy City from Chicago, in front of the St. Louis Pantera Tunas by a score of 13-10. That situation right there, the player moved up after he caught the disc. To me, that didn't look like that was momentum steps. It looked like he just ran forward a little bit. Yeah, well, the first player was bringing it up to the goal line. He has the option after the pull to bring it up to the goal line. And then that second pass, it was momentum steps. You get a couple. I mean, it's whatever reasonable amount of time it takes for you to catch it and then stop yourself.
And a deep pass, and that pass is caught in the end zone by Jordan Halpern. And Chicago back out to a four-point lead, 14-10.
So that's Jordan's last name. I never knew it.
4-point lead, and we saw Windy City on the fast break. That's one of the things they like to do. You know, it seems to me that when you're just running a basic offense, you like to get the short, consistent passes, the high percentage passes, but that time Windy City had a chance to get down the field, and they took it, and they took advantage of it, and now they're out on front 14-10. They're making a number of substitutions.
You know, Matt, on that situation there where they move the discs all of a sudden and just kind of jump out ahead of you, that's to Windy City's advantage to do that. Now they've got a few points ahead. They can take a few chances. You know, when you're down, you've got to be a little more cautious. You've got to try to work the disc, maintain possession. If you have an unforced, thank you, Neil. I couldn't find that word. Unforced error, again, you're going to be hurting. So Tunas have got to be careful. Windy City can take a few more chances here.
Getting set for the poll will come from Chicago, and they brought quite a few players down with them to play in the ballgame. They've substituted freely. It'll keep them a little bit more fresher in the ballgame. So it's 14-10 is your score as we get set to resume action. Teams will switch sides. We talked before about how the wind advantage or field advantage will play to neither team's favor, because after you score, you just turn around and go the other way. High pull, and it's going to be caught near the goal line, and here go the Panteras. We had them in our championship last year against the Kansas City Ultimatos here on Cable 4. Field's beginning to dry out just a little bit. Sun's been out for quite a long time, and a lot of that mud has gone away in the middle of the field.
Actually, the conditions are pretty good. The footing's real nice.
Deep down the field, a chance for a score, and that pass is caught for a point.
Tim Dugan, the person that caught that, is just really excellent at screening off his defender. You saw how he used his back and his body to keep the defender from getting around him, and then he just waited till the disc was within reach, and then he went after it and used his speed to get to it. He's a smart player. He's a good player.
Well, that'll bring your score back up to 14-11, and really Windy City has led throughout, but they've never had a lead of over 4 points.
This is going to be a big point for St. Louis. What they want to do is get down there and make a great defensive play, or I don't care what kind of defensive play. They just want to get a turnover and score an upwind goal, because the wind does play a key part, and they just can't trade points anymore. They need to score. They need to make the defensive play, score an upwind goal, and then they throw it, and Chicago will have to bring it upwind. So that, you know, this is the one they want to get. This is the key to the game right here.
Well, in order to get back in the game, is it easier to shut them down the man-to-man defense, or would you try to go to a zone in this situation, Dave?
Right now, oh, excuse me, Dave, go ahead.
Okay, Neil, I'll take a stab at it. You can fill in any gaps. Right now, it's to Tunas' advantage to play man-to-man because they're going against the wind here. If it was the other way around, if they had the wind behind them, they'd probably want to go zone. But here, man-to-man, they can maintain their coverage. There's a good catch on the side over there. They've got to get the turnover here. They've got to get the disc back.
Deep on the side, and there's a dangerous pass, but across the field, and now Windy City looking to score.
There's one of those blade passes, and it's good.
That'll make the score 15-11. You know, it seems to me it looks like Windy City has played together so much they know where their players are going to be, whereas, you know, you throw that dangerous cross-field pass like that, you know, you had to know your player was going to be there. Teamwork is really something that has come through, I think, for the Windy City ball players. We'll make it 15-11, and the pull will come from the left side. Windy City back out to that 4-point lead. We talked about momentum. St. Louis came down and got the score, and Windy City, in just 3 or 4 passes, was able to put a point back on the board, so that'll probably take some wind out of their sails.
They got to make it happen now. They're kind of looking down. They're not acting real enthused. Usually St. Louis is really up and eager to take the next pull, but now they kind of look down. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. They got to start changing the momentum right now.
16 teams started in this tournament, in this round-robin pool-type play. Teams from Chicago, Austin, Texas, Minneapolis, Lawrence, Kansas, Columbia, Kansas City, Boulder, Colorado, as we mentioned, Oklahoma City, Manhattan, Kansas, St. Louis, Carbondale, Illinois, Fayetteville, Arkansas. These 2 teams have survived, and they're playing for the championship. Is staying in bounds, and the Tunas are on the attack, moving from your right to your left.
You know, Matt, the Tunas need a big play here to get them fired up. Neil mentioned a second ago that they're looking a little down. They need that one play, that big play to kind of get them all gelling again and making things happen.
Well, they've got nice, crisp passes working for them now. They're close to the end zone. They're trying to get it in. This situation, you can move back a little bit. When you get this close, you just want to open your man up. Deep downfield, they're getting closer. A couple of men in, and the pass, and is he in? He's in for the score. Well, the scoring has picked up a little bit here. The crispness of play. Now it's 15-12. Windy City in the lead, but closer they get. Windy City only 6 points away from a victory, so the Panteras are going to have to shut them down. They can score point for point with them, but they're going to have to stop them from scoring here pretty soon. So it's 15-12, the Windy City lead. As we take a look at the turnovers so far in the ball game, you can see the Panteras, they've pulled back into it. They've committed 26 turnovers. Windy City has committed 24, but a 3-point lead. You know, the Panteras will cut their turnovers down if they had in the last couple of minutes. They'll pull back into it. For a ball game, is that quite a few turnovers to have in a ball game?
I don't know about ball games. In a Frisbee game, it's quite a few, really.
You got to get me away from it, guys.
These spheroid games, you kind of mess up your mind, Matt, but we'll let you go on that.
Well, these games, let's put it that way. This game, let's put it that way. Sorry about that. You getting a consistent pattern of calling something like that, and a stereotype.
No problem.
Next Thursday night when we have high school football, I'll be calling it a disc. So.
I tell you, you can tell the conditions have had a lot to do with the number of turnovers we had, and I think we need to take that into account.
So you're saying that'd be a high number of turnovers in a game?
Well, under the conditions, we think it's pretty reasonable, but if it was nice conditions, not muddy, then that would be awfully high.
This is Windy City on the offensive possession. There's a close guard. How close are you allowed to get to your man? That was a pretty close contact by the St. Louis player.
Well, you're supposed to give them a disc width of freedom between you and the person on offense. So Joe Manzer, the person covering that last play, he was a little bit tight there. But it's up to the offensive player to call it and get them back off.
Windy City looking to get down the field. A deep pass, and that is almost caught. But it'll be
This is a big point here for St. Louis. They need this point.
They trail by 3, and we're getting late in the game. And that pass is almost broken up.
I tell you what, if the Tunas can move it down the field and score on this one, they're going to be in a... I was going to say they'd be in a lot better position, but...
You hate to see that.
You really do.
You hate to have it happen to you. You hate to have it happen to your teammate. You love to see it when you're playing against another team, though.
Now, Windy City will see if they can take advantage of it. It happens deep in the Tuna territory. And Windy City looking to break somebody open. You want to be patient in this situation. You don't want to try and force the play, because there's no time limit here. A couple of men open very deep. And
this will be a tough play.
And he caught it. Nice catch, deep in the back line. You can see the play developing. So it's 16-12, the Windy City lead over the St. Louis Panteras. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
The USA Network invites you to enter a realm slightly beyond reality, with tales of the unexpected.
Back at the SMS campus, Matt Coatney along with Dave Coonrod, Neil Adams. And we'd like to remind you about the Ken Hatfield Show. You can catch it exclusively here on Cable 4 Springfield.
I never miss it.
Next week, Paul Eels and Ken Hatfield will review the Hogs' victory over University of Tulsa, and they'll preview the Navy game. And you can catch it Thursday at 9 p.m. and Friday at 7 p.m. And the Ken Hatfield Show is seen exclusively here in Springfield on Cable 4. Now we get set to resume. Windy City just on the board, and they're back out to a 4-point lead, 16-12, and they're 5 points away from getting a tournament championship in the UFO IT tournament. And there's the pull, and it's high and deep.
That's a nice one. That's going to stay in play.
And it's just going to float and float and float.
Incredible, incredible pull.
That's probably the best pull we've seen today. So here go the Panteras on the attack.
You know, a pull like that really helps out the defense. It gives them lots of time to get set up on their man.
Nice. Look at that catch. You know, St. Louis trying to get back into this one quickly. They trail by 4, and Windy City only 5 points away from wrapping this one up. Being guarded. He's got no help, so he's going to have to make a long pass, and that one is broken up and then dropped. So Windy City playing tight defense, and I think St. Louis made a mistake in that nobody stayed back. And
this is an important play right here.
And Windy City, they're going to look for the fast break deep down the field, and there's the point, 17-12. I thought that St. Louis was going to come down and get a good possession, but they lost their players back here. They turned it over in Windy City. In command now by 5, 17-12. It's their biggest lead of the game.
You know, sometimes you just need to take that extra second, that extra split second to make sure you got that clean throw. But it's really hard to do when you're out there on the field and things are moving fast. Sometimes it's hard to take that extra second to see where your man's at.
So the momentum has definitely switched the Chicagoans' way as they lead over St. Louis by 5 as we get set for the pull.
You know, Matt, while they're pulling here, getting ready to pull, I might mention, we've been real fortunate to do some of the things at the UFO at this year with some of the sponsorships we've had. We've had premium beverage sales helping us out on some of the refreshments. Domino's Pizza helped us out, and of course Z105 has done us a real decent job on the new FM radio. So we're real pleased to have those sponsors helping out the Ultimate Frisbee Option Invitational Tournament this year.
And this is the 7th annual Option Invitational. Gets better and better year after year. 16 teams in it this year, and I guess they look to improve down the road.
Yes, we
goes
sure
the
do.
Bomb. Nice. Oh, is it going to go?
Deep down the field, St. Louis,
yes.
And they have the point. 17-13 now the score. Well, they've got to take some chances, I guess, when you get this late stages in the ball game. That fast break happened to work. And that'll make it a 4-point lead. Windy City still in control.
They've just been trading points. St. Louis has had a couple chances to really swing the momentum in their favor, and they've made good defensive plays, but then they didn't follow up with an offensive score, so we got to see it now.
I think the thing that impresses me a lot about the tournament is the parity of competition. You see the World Championship teams in here in Windy City of Chicago, and here's a team from St. Louis who's able to stay right with them all the way throughout. And, you know, you talk about teams on the West Coast from California, where the national championships will be held this year. Parity of competition in this tournament is something that really impresses me.
Yeah. Well, you know, people think it's odd when you tell them you play Frisbee and you mention that you're from Missouri or something. You know, they're used to you being from California or from somewhere on the East Coast picking that up. But, you know, right here in Springfield, we were fortunate to be kind of turned on to Frisbee at an early time back in the 70s and bring it to the Midwest. And we were really formed up even before the Tunas team here.
And Windy City on the attack now. Yeah,
I think we'd have to look to Steve Smith and Neil Adams as being a couple of the people really responsible for bringing Ultimate and the games of Frisbee here to Springfield, Missouri in their college days.
Which, thank goodness, we graduated. Which most Frisbee players do eventually, too. I mean, it's not just a rumor, it's true.
Well, the play here, you don't see any people. I guess your average age is, we're talking about 25 years old out here, aren't we?
That's pretty close, yeah.
You wouldn't see, it's a very athletic type sport. You don't have to, a lot of running involved. You've got to be in great physical shape to be able to play this sport. And you know, it's a great sport for the younger people, but it's been around such a short level of time, I don't guess you know who's the oldest player playing Ultimate Frisbee now that you folks know of.
At this competitive level, probably a guy named Tom Kennedy out of Santa Barbara. He's, what, about 33, 35?
I don't know. Tom will probably kill me if I guess anything.
But what I'm saying is...
Of course, our own Steve Smith is getting there, too.
Yeah. Shoot, I'm almost 31, but I don't know. Ultimate does something about keeping you feeling young and fit. You know, you still get carded.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of a disagreement on the far side. Players police themselves, no referees in this game, which will tend to keep you a little honest, I think.
I think so, and it really promotes that mutual respect among players. You know, you may see a minor altercation like that out there, but they seem to be able to work it out always in a very short amount of time. And for the most part, they're out there to play Ultimate and nothing more. And what you're seeing here is a display of Ultimate in one of its finest forms.
The Chicago Windy City looking to increase their lead, and there's a bad pass, and it'll be St. Louis Pantera Tuna disc.
Looks like they need a timeout, but they're not going to take it. They're going to continue playing. This is a big point. They probably should take a timeout.
Oh. That's a bad pass, and Windy City quickly on the break.
That's the third time this half they've... Oh, no.
And a nice catch. It was broken up, and then he came back to make the play. And quickly down the field, and pass is going to be short.
The wind's kind of picking up now, Matt. You can tell that it's affecting the flight of the Frisbee a little bit more.
It'll be Pantera disc, but Pantera Tunas from St. Louis. They're moving from your right to your left. And we have a little bit of stoppage in play, as they will put the disc into play on the far right corner near the end zone. The regulation field, of course, has been affected a little bit today to compromise for field conditions. 70 by 40, 25-yard long end zones.
Go to.
And here go the Tunas. A couple of men break down the field. They're on the break, quickly down the field. And here comes Windy City back quickly to defend. Now they're having trouble getting rid of it. And they're back up the field.
That shows the poise of this team, though. You can't always be trying to move it down the field. You got to be, sometimes you just got to move it backwards before you can go forwards. There's wisdom in those words, Dave.
Quickly down the field, there goes the disc. And it's like Lou Holtz used to say for the Arkansas Razorbacks, I don't care how much yardage we had during the ball game as long as it's all positive, you know, when he was playing Texas.
Did he say that?
One time, back when he was back in Arkansas. He said a little bit better than I did, though, as I recall.
But he ended up in Minnesota, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
See where that got him?
Yeah, here goes Windy City.
Go for the bomb.
Quickly down the field, picked off by the Panteras.
They're going to hurl it back down.
Just quickly up the field.
Wasted that.
Well, why would he attempt such a long throw on that particular type play, Dave?
Oh, he's young.
Now, that's a good question. Two reasons. One, he might have thought that his man was going to cut back and break open. The other reason, though, which probably wasn't it in this case, but sometimes when you're in bad position, you can use a pass like that, someone like a punt in football, where you just want to move the disc back down to the end of the field and then hope for that turnover.
And Windy City on the attack, and a looping type pass over his head and a nice catch. Windy City in position to score. And now they're going to set it up. Short type passes here. They want to be patient and make sure they get in the end zone, not waste the opportunity. There's the pass and the score. 18-13.
You know, I got to compliment Telecable's work today. I've been watching the monitor here, and y'all are doing an excellent job in your video coverage. Want to compliment y'all.
You know, this game being directed by Kent Splon, and Steve Barron's directed the women's game. Rob West, Gary Wingo, and Jim Lopter running your cameras. And, of course, today's game being produced and engineered by Greg Adams. You wouldn't happen to know that guy, would you, Neil?
Yes, I do. He's my younger, and always will be my younger brother. Even though he had a birthday, he's always trying to catch up every year, but I tend to get 1 year older, too. So, Greg, don't ever forget that. You're my baby brother.
And before I forget anybody, Paul Clear providing your graphics today. I think I got everybody. If I forgot somebody, kind of come up here and kick me off my platform. I'll remember it next time. Windy City with the score. They're leading 18-13. And they'll have the pull.
Well, that last series of play, it got a little bit sloppy. St. Louis had several different chances to score. And Dave, they just lost their poise. I mean, you don't see that too often with St. Louis.
Not really, Neil. St. Louis usually is just murderous when they're on the field, as crisp as they play. But today, I don't know whether it's the combination of the field conditions, a little bit of wind, and playing in last year's #1 ranked team. All those things combined may have taken a little bit of the wind out of the Tunas sails.
This is the Tunas with the disc, and they're being pressured deep in their own territory. Windy City really tenacious on their defense, and they're not letting them have much. Right in the middle of the field, the Tunas trying to work their offense. Windy City has certainly picked up the pace, turned up the heat, if you will, on the defensive play. And the Pantera Tunas, and almost a drop, was able to come up with it. Now they're in the middle of the field on the far side, and that pass is incomplete. 3 players in the area for Windy City, and they're within 3 points of winning this tournament.
They just want to put this one in, and they're going to be in great shape.
A pass is deflected, almost picked off, and now here comes St. Louis on the break. Quick passes on the far side. They have a couple of men in the end zone. They're covered. And that pass is going to be deflected, I think. No, they didn't make the catch.
It was a heck of an effort by the Tunas. You know, they've got a...
And a deep pass down the field. Windy City trying to get down there. It's going to fall incomplete. We'll go back the other way. This will be the Panteras putting the disc into play.
I think we're seeing the effects of playing all day today and all day yesterday.
Look, he's just hanging it up for Randy Ricks. Randy's about the best at doing this.
And he makes the catch.
Great play.
Players
are getting tired, but
18-14, the Windy City lead. We'll be back with more in just a moment. By a score of 18-14 as Panteras get set to pull it. Biggest lead for Windy City has been 5, and they're 3 points away. First team to 21 claims the championship, and will take home first place. And there's a long, long, long pull. That one's going to hang up there. We've seen a couple of good pulls here in the last couple of series, and it'll fall behind our crowd.
Matt, have you talked about what these teams can expect to take home today?
No, I haven't. What will first place prize bring these teams?
First place, we've got a $425 cash trophy. Second place, be taking home $225. So the players out here today, their teams are going to pick up a little money for their efforts in coming to Springfield this year.
And St. Louis looking to get onto the scoreboard. The pass is going to be, did he catch it? A nice diving catch, and
he dropped.
They're going to call it a drop. It was close, and then the
good defensive play.
Return pass was short, and so the Tunas.
Now here's how we're going to see a good team at work. They're just going to try to isolate one person right there.
And there he has the score. So let's make it 18-15. Just a lack of concentration there by Windy City after they got the turnover. Just a little return pass was short, and slowly but surely St. Louis has pulled back into this one. It's 18-15, Chicago in the lead. But I tell you, this game still has some time left in it. Chicago has to come up with 3 more points for this one is history. And we'd like to remind you about Sportsline 4. You can catch it every week right here on Cable 4 Springfield. There are your times. Next week, I'll be visiting with Jim Ewing, former Springfield Parks Director and man who the Jimmy Ewing Complex was named after. And it's only on Sportsline 4. And join me every week on Cable 4 Springfield. Ultimate Frisbee Option Invitational Tournament, 18-15. The Chicago Windy City's in the lead as we get set for the pull to come from the St. Louis Pantera Tunas. In the women's action earlier today, it was the Chicago Nemesis with a 13-1 victory over the Lawrence, Kansas Grass Carps.
Some unusual names.
I was going to ask you how these teams come up with these names. And I understand that the Pantera Tunas, Pantera is a pizzeria in St. Louis, but some of the other teams you'll see in the tournament. How about the Horizontals from Lawrence, Kansas, and Gang Green from Kansas City? And
Dave, I'll let you take this, okay?
You got to love those names, I tell you.
well, add some color to it. I'll be
that's
first one to admit that.
You know, we got to love the Horizontals. Those guys just came together a few years ago, and they've gelled into a fine team. And I think part of the reason, you know, if you can get a banner to get your team members under it in a name, ooh, there's a tough play.
But the catch and the spike.
I think they're going to bring it back. I heard a travel call out on the field. Let's see what happens. Travel calls when the person that had the disc moved his pivot foot.
There's some good sportsmanship shown. You know, even though it was inadvertent contact and it did upset him a little bit at first, it didn't take him very long at all to recover from it, both of them.
So they're kind of discussing what happened.
And they police themselves out there. Jordan Halpern, who's going to get a little advice from the crowd.
I think the person that threw the eventual score was the one that was called for the traveling. He made a nice in-the-air catch, and then there was a question whether or not he was established when he passed the disc into the end zone. So he's trying to talk it over with the Tuna team and explain how he saw it.
You know, the traveling call, Neil, I think you'd have to agree, is one of the more difficult calls to make on the field. It almost always leads to a certain amount of discussion on the field.
It seems like it always happens when there's a score, too.
Yeah, that's right.
Well,
it's like giving up a touchdown or, uh-oh, don't talk football. All right, they brought it back.
Okay, Windy City will be close. They're looking to get it into the end zone, and 6 or one, half dozen or another, the point will count, and it's 19-15, Windy City.
Well, we're drawing down the last points here, and Tunas are really going to have to come on hard and fast if they're going to pull this game out.
And they're bringing a number of substitutes into the game. 19-15 the score. As we get set for the pull.
You can really hear that wind up here, can't you, Matt?
Well, the wind's picking up. We're high atop the SMS campus.
What are you, about 1,350 feet above sea level?
Just, well, the weather's a little bit different up here than it is down the field, I'm guessing. This is our third change of scenery today, I guess you could say. We started off on the intramural field, and then when conditions were deemed too wet, they moved just about 50 feet or 50 yards across the way and for the women's game, and then we moved backwards here for the men's championship game. That's where we are right now as we get set for the pull from Windy City. They came in with a spotless tournament record. They're the defending national champions and the defending world champions. And the pull is going to be a short one this time, and the Panteras will be in possession. And they trail by 4 points. They're looking to.
Tom Hyman is controlling the disc for the Tunas now. He's been a real leader for this Tunas team and has really helped the team stay together over the years.
And the Pantera Tunas in possession now, deep down the field.
Another play by Tom.
Got the little turnover pass, and it's into the end zone for the score.
That's Tim Dugan again.
And let's make it 19-16. They've never really been that far out of it, talking about the Panteras now, but Windy City has always managed to keep that lead between 3 and 5. And the walk the other way. We get set for the pull. Most of our crowd has stayed around here today. It's turned into a nice afternoon for Frisbee, or for that matter, just about anything else. And we've got a nice crowd, a carnival-type atmosphere, I guess you could say, here as we see some of the faithful at the UFO IT tournament. What about you gentlemen? When's the next Frisbee competition you folks will be involved in? Start with you, Neil.
Well, I'm going back to Boulder, and next on tap for us is our sectional down in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I think that's in about 3 weeks. I think Dave's is about the same time, but he's in a little bit different part of the country.
Yeah, Neil, I'm in a different situation altogether. My next competition comes November 6th, Election Day, so for the risk of having equal time, I won't say a whole lot more about that.
We've got a timeout on
Good
the
luck,
field
Dave.
between
Thank you, Neil.
between Chicago and St. Louis. 19-16 is the Windy City lead, and we'll take a break. We'll be back in a minute.
There's no place like HBO. We'll make your spirit shine, your evenings glow. What a feeling.
There's no place like HBO in September for great movies like Gandhi, the comedy of Joe Piscopo, and football excitement on Inside the NFL, all on HBO in September.
Put HBO in your home. Call Telecable today at 883-7557.
Oh, what a show. There's no place like HBO.
Adams, Dave Kinrod back with you, and we'd like to remind you about high school football. You can catch it exclusively here on Cable 4 Springfield. In weeks to come, we'll have a Thursday night special for you. The Kickapoo Chiefs against the Hillcrest Hornets. Kickapoo coming off a big victory over the Central Bulldogs. And in weeks to come, you can catch a variable bevy of city games going through the conference schedule. We'll wrap it up on Thursday, November the 2nd. It'll be the Glendale Falcons against the Kickapoo Chiefs. It's high school football action exclusively on Cable 4 Springfield. Well, it's 19-16, Chicago Windy City. In the lead, first team to 21 claims tournament honors. Right now, Windy City has been in control since they took a 3-0 lead early in this ball game. Earlier today in women's competition, the Chicago Nemesis defeated the Lawrence, Kansas Grass Cart by a score of 13-1. So, looks like the Chicagoans are looking to wipe up today on the Lawrence people and the St. Louis teams. And Chicago looking for a clean sweep here in Springfield Mo today.
And in baseball, too. This is their year, I suppose.
Well, they haven't claimed it yet. They probably will next week, but I'm a big Cardinal fan. It's hard for us to die. The pull will come to Windy City, and they're on the attack. Deep on their own side, and the Panteras are putting on pretty good man-to-man defense. Windy City looking to come up with 2 more points, and they'll have a victory. Right in the middle of the field. And the Panteras, really tenacious defense. And that disc has a lot of mud on it.
Going to clean it off a little bit.
Tunas are really going to have to stiffen up their defense here and stop the Windy City because it's getting too close. When they get that 1 point away from winning the game.
Oh, nice effort.
Almost interception, and that pass is going to be just a little bit out of the reach, and St. Louis will take over.
Now let's see if they can keep their heads and put it up the field. I mean, they don't need to rush it or anything. Just work it up that field.
Quickly down the field. They're working it with short, crisp passes, and now a long attempt.
Too much.
And that one will be deflected away. A nice defensive play. He had one defensive player against 2 offensive players, and he came up and put himself between, knocked it away. So Windy City back on the offensive possession. And deep down the field, that one looks like it'll be deflected away. A nice collision right at center field. And quickly down the field, and the St. Louis player wasn't looking for the pass, and things are getting a little hairy now.
They just haven't had that poise and composure that they normally display. They could be right in this ball game. They could be leading.
Well, I've been impressed with the Panteras, and you play the world champions. You've got your hands full, and they've hung in there tough, and there
it's a great catch.
Is a catch.
That's what makes this game so much fun to play and watch. You just don't see enough of that in football, and you see it a lot in Ultimate.
Deep down the field, that pass is incomplete. And here goes St. Louis.
Lots of incidental contact. Just like basketball, you're not supposed to hit anybody, but boy,
non-contact sport.
You mentioned poise a second ago. I think we're seeing them. They're trying to get a little ragged. It's towards the end of the game.
And look at that catch in the end zone and a spike.
Ooh, and that's a 15-yard penalty, isn't it? New rule this year.
So that'll put the Windy Cities on top by a score of 20-16, so they're 1 point away from claiming tournament honors. And the pull will Pull on the far side, and they're 1 point away from wrapping up a tournament championship.
Windy City's got to be feeling pretty good at this point.
And 20-16 is your score. Getting set for the pull on the far side. Well, if you're St. Louis Pantera right now, you got to go for broke, I guess. Next time Windy City gets the disc, you got to keep them out of the end zone. What's the best way to, is there anything like a prevent defense that you can use in this situation, Dave?
Well, I think probably what the Tunas are saying to themselves now out there is, let's take this disc, let's keep control, and let's work it down the field, and let's get a score out of this. If they turn it over here, and Windy City scores, of course, it's going to be all over. So they've got to be right on it.
Pull will come from Windy City. They'll be moving from your left to your right. A long afternoon of Frisbee, getting close to coming to an end here at the SMS campus. For that matter, a long weekend of Frisbee. A deluge of rain yesterday affecting play, but nonetheless the tournament getting through.
We've got a crosswind kind of developing here. I don't know how that's going to affect this series, but it's picking up quite a bit.
Well, I think we've seen how it's affected the last 10 or 15 minutes of the game. A lot more turnovers, a lot more long passes that have gone awry. So it's already affected the game somewhat. Here goes Chicago in their little calming thing.
Yeah, this is a little interesting team aspect they use. And the pull is more of a liner type
Tough
throw.
to catch those. That was the object of that. All right, they're going for the bomb.
Deep down the field, he's got a couple or three men down there, and that pass is going to be caught. And it's going to be a score for the Panteras. What a play. 20-17.
The Tunas really put it together on that one. You gotta admire that.
Well, he went down. He was between two defenders, went up, and I don't know how he came down with it. Then it was just a quick throw to his man for the score. 20-17 is the Windy City lead now.
Well, this has been the situation the whole second half. St. Louis has scored a downwind goal. They've pulled, and then they need to get a good defensive play to get back in it. We've said it all along this second half. They need to do that. They haven't done it yet, and obviously this is the only last chance they'll have to do it. So it's now or never.
The pull will come from the Pantera Tunas.
Randy Ricks, he's the one that threw that nice pull earlier.
Yeah, he had probably the best pull of the day. We'll see if he can duplicate that now. High type pull, and went almost in the tree and then came back. Let's see what he gets off this time. This is not as good a pull. It serves the purpose, however. It's going to hang up there.
A little miscommunication there.
Who was going to receive that?
Right.
Now he brings it up the goal line.
And Windy City needing a point to put the tournament title away.
You can bet the Tunas are going to put as much pressure on D as they can this time.
They got to.
And Windy
They're fighting
City,
for their life out here now.
nice catch on this side. Windy City still deep in their territory, trying to work it around.
Ooh, nice catch there.
Oh, man. And almost a double team type situation on the...
Got a little zone work going here.
And we'll see what Windy City wants to do. There's a pass. Now they're deep in territory, and a drop. Just a flat-out drop.
Miscue.
Well, the Panteras can pull back within two.
Every time they've been in this situation with the turnover, they've worked it up the field about to this point, and then they tried to punch it in. They tried to do about a 30-yard pass. Let's see if they can do a little bit different and work it all the way up.
Well, they're getting deep into territory, and Windy City losing a little momentum now, even though they're only 1 point away from a victory. Defense being applied. They want to make sure they get on the board here. That'll put them just a little bit closer. But Windy City turning up the heat on defense now. Oh. And there's a flip down the field, and that one is going to be caught for the score.
Another nice play by Tim. He always seems to be there.
Now let's make it 20-18, the Windy City lead. Now, if you're from a Chicago fan, you want to get on the board and get this thing put away because they're sneaking in the back door on you.
They know they need to score. Well, they're not in really too bad shape yet. They can still give up one more point and then go downwind for the score. But they want to get it over with. They know St. Louis can come back. The momentum can change so quickly, just like in any sport.
So the pull will come from the Panteras to the right side of your screen. 20-18 the score.
You're going to see some tough defense from St. Louis now. They're going to be wanting that disc. This will probably be the toughest defense they've played the whole tournament right now. Chicago's going to have to fight for this upwind goal. Just believe me. Just believe it.
Neil, we believe it.
Yeah, we believe it, Neil. Don't worry about it. Well, the pull will come from the Pantera Tunas. How's this game rank in other tournament games that you've seen so far in the tournament, Dave? Is this one of the better games? Closeness I'm talking about?
I think so. You know, we like to see these kind of championship games culminate in our tournaments. A couple of years ago, we had a lopsided one, and that wasn't good. But this is really a good matchup here today, and we're real pleased in the outcome of the tournament. I think everybody that's come has been genuinely pleased with the tournament overall and their individual performances.
And the long pull. It's a pretty good pull. It's going to go all the way into the back of the end zone, and Windy City will bring it out. At the goal line, they're looking to set up their offense.
Let's see what kind of pressure St. Louis can put on them.
They're definitely trying to turn up the heat, so to speak. And Windy City has the break. At about midfield.
You can tell Chicago really wants it here. They're being real patient.
And that pass into midfield, nice catch, and there might be the ball game and the score. That's your final score, Windy City 21 and St. Louis 18. Back with the totals in just a moment. It is won by the national and defending world champion Chicago Windy City by a score of 24-18 over the St. Louis Pantera Tunas. It was a pretty good ball game, and Dave Coonrod and Neil Adams, I tell you, St. Louis hung in there tough, but Windy City, defending world champions, they're a tough team to beat.
They are, and they're going to be tough this year too. St. Louis and Windy City will meet again later in the fall in their regional, and they're probably just feeling each other out right now, trying to see weaknesses.
This tournament's a good warm-up for them. That's one of the things that's been developed for us, get everybody ready for the sectionals, regionals, and then ultimately the nationals. I hope you forgive the pun. And we're real pleased to have everybody out here today, and we've sure enjoyed it. It's been a great disc tournament.
Well, guys, I'd like to thank both of you for helping me out today, along with Steve Smith and Matt Patterson and everybody else who was up here today. And that's going to wrap it up from the SMS campus with the final score, the Chicago Windy City 24 and the St. Louis Pantera Tunas 18. So long from SMS. Producer-engineer for Cable 4 Sports is Greg Adams. Today's games were directed by Kent Swan and Steve Behrens. In our opening game in the Women's Championship, Chicago Nemesis defeated the Lawrence, Kansas Raskar by a score of 13-1. And in our Men's Championship game, the Chicago Windy City defeated St. Louis Pantera Tuna by a score of 24-18. Thank you for joining us, and this has been a production of Cable 4 Springfield Sports.